Good Tavach, everybody. So it's Shabbos Nachmu, it's Motzei Shabbos Nachmu. So I'll tell you Maisa. The way of early Tzadikim, I can't say every single Tzadik was like this, but there were certainly some that did this, that they would what's called Farbrengable. They would leave their hometown, a place that everyone knew them, especially when they were younger and less famous. They could get away with this. And they would go into Galus. They would travel from shtetl to shtetl, usually pretending to be ignorant, simple peasants. And they would do this for a number of reasons. I mean, on a simple level, one reason would be to sort of like prepare them to become leaders, that they should be able to feel what it was like to be a simple Jew. There was other mystical reasons as well, to connect themselves to the gullus of the Shechina. But the Maisa goes that there was one big tzaddik that did this in his younger years, Rebbe from Vizvitzer, the future tzemach tzaddik. He was the son-in-law of the originator. This is a great tzaddik in his own right. But when he was younger, he went into Galus. So he left his hometown, and he just went from town to town, city to city, for a long time, a couple of years, and just like a peasant, like a schlepper. And so the story goes that there was one particular town that he went to, and everyone in the town, when they noticed him walking by, they would turn their heads. Again, he went in such a way that made him look like unkept and simple and poor and so on. And there was only one person in the whole town that not only took notice of him, but actually spoke kind words to him, and that was a little girl by the name of Rivka. So, I wouldn't recommend this nowadays, obviously, but it was a different time. Her parents told her that we're not interested in having this schlepper come in our home, but if you want to be nice to him and do the mitzvah of achnasas orchim, then you can do that in the front yard. And so that's what she would do. She would always, she befriended him. She would call him Mendela, and he called her Rivkala. And whenever he came to that particular town, they would always meet each other in front of her house. And she was a little girl at the time. And what she would do is she would play with him. So she would bring out her toy table, her little toy chair, some toy tea set. And she would pour him tea. And that was the minig that they had every once in a while when he traveled through that town. Now, during the time that he would visit, so she would ask him questions, where are you from, and so on. And eventually she got out of him that he is the great Mendel of Vizhnitz, the future tzemach tzaddik. And she was obviously a sensitive neshama. And even at a young age, she was able to tell that this is not a simple person. And she would always tell her parents that, that Mendel that comes every once in a while, he's really a big tzaddik. But they would say, nah, he's just a schlepper. Don't be tricked by that. He's a nobody. We don't want him in our house. Again, if you play with him with your tea set, it's gesund to hate. But don't fall for those things. He's not a big tzaddik. Anyway, fine. Years go by, and he frequents again every once in a while. And then at some point, the last time he's there, he knows that he's going to end his sojourning, his time of Golas, and he says, Rivkala, I'm probably not going to come back for a very long time. But you should know, I promise I'll always remember you. And the kindness that you showed to me by playing with me and give me some of your tea, and so on. So Rivka says, you sure you're going to remember me? And Mendel says, 100% I'm going to remember you, Rivka. Fine. Years go by. Little Rivka grows up to be of marriageable age. And Rachmana litzlan, unfortunately, she grows up as a cripple. She's not able to walk. She gets sick at some point, and she loses her ability to walk. Not only is that a tsar by itself, but it's also causing inyanim and problems with shidduchim. It's a big tsar. Now she keeps on telling her parents that, a few miles away you have the tzemach tzaddik, Mendel Vizhnitz. That's the Mendel. That's the Mendel that used to come here. He told me his name, where he's coming from, and that's him. And they always tell her, Rivkala, those were dreams when you were a little kid. It's for sure not him. It can't be. But she's like, no, I'm telling you, we should go to him, get a bracha. For sure he's going to remember me. So they figured to themselves, listen, it's not a bad thing to get a bracha anyway. So they make the trip. Rahman is Nebuch, in those days they didn't have proper wheelchairs either. So she's on a chair, they pick her up on a wagon, and they schlep to the city of Vizhnitz. And meanwhile, while they're traveling there, again, they don't send message in advance that they're coming. They're a regular family. But the tzaddik, the tzemach tzaddik, he senses with his ruach hakodesh that they're coming. And so that whole Shabbos, that they were going to come Motzei Shabbos, that whole Shabbos, the Rebbe's running in and out and constantly looking at the window, looking at the door, almost sensing something coming. comes Motzei Shabbos, so the tzaddik goes to the gabbai and makes a very strange request. He says, I want you to go somewhere in the town, I want you to find for me a toy table and some toy chairs and a toy tea set. And I want you to bring it, put it in the little beis medrash. Okay? Even amongst Chassidish Rebbes, that's a strange request. So that's what the gabbai does. Eventually he finds a toy tea set and a little table and chairs, and he presents it to the Rebbe. It's like, oh, gewaldig, okay? He puts it in the middle of the bima. An hour or two later, all of a sudden, again, it's in the beis medrash, the Chassidim, they're learning, Mov Malk and so on. All of a sudden, the beis medrash opens, and this couple, husband and wife, are there with Nebuch, their daughter, that's in a wheelchair. And so the Rebbe looks, and the Rebbe says, Rivkala. And Rivka's like, Mendele. And all the Chassidim are shocked by that, an 18-year-old girl, whatever, calling Tzaddik Yisrael Mendele. So they bring her to the beis medrash, to the Rebbe, and the tzaddik says, Rivka, do you remember when I was young and years ago and you were young and I would come to your town and you were the only one that paid attention to me, you're the only one that took me in? Rivka's like, I know. And Rivka, do you remember that when I left, I told you that I would remember you? She's like, yes, I remember. So see, I remember you. And so the parents are there and they're shocked by this whole thing, that Taka, she's right, it was none other than the tzemach tzaddik. And so the tzaddik says, so Rivka, what do you want now? And so the parents say, and they're all crying, they say, Rebbe, she can't walk, we need a bracha, with shaduchim and health, we need a bracha. And so the tzaddik says, Rivka, I have this table and chair here with a toy tea set. Remember when we were young? So maybe just like in those days, I'm going to sit down on the chair, and you could come and pour me some tea. And everyone's crying. She can't get up. She's on the other side. And he's telling her to get up and to go to the tea set to pour him some tea. And she's like, Rebbe, I can't. And she's like, yes, you can. I can't. Yes, you can. And so she pushes herself. She gets up slowly but surely, wobbly. Nes nigla, open miracle. She's able to stand, and she pours him the tea. No, the Jewish people are like Rivka. The Rebbe is going through this world. No one knows him. No one recognizes him. Esav, you want the Torah? Not interested. Yishmael, you want the Torah? Not interested. There's only one little people that are willing to recognize that there's something special with that Mendele. He's not just a regular schlepper. And that's the Jewish people. We're the Rivka of the Rebbeinu Shalom. And just like the tzaddik was able to do an open miracle like that and pick Rivka up from, give her the strength to stand on her own 2 feet by reminding her and reminding the Rebbeinu Shalom of that kindness that she did as a child of believing in Mendel when no one else did, so too the Rebbeinu Shalom should remember the kindness that our ancestors did to him and that we continue to do to him, that we recognize him and we bring him in. Maybe the most we can do is pour some pretend tea. It might be the most we can do right now, but at least we do that as a way of recognizing we believe in you when no one else does. And with that alone, the Rebbeinu Shalom should be enough schus. The Rebbeinu Shalom should pick Rivka from give her the strength to stand up, give the Jewish people the strength to stand up, return to Eretz Yisrael, be exalted, Tzaddik, Meher V'Meinu, Amen.